And welcome back to the Chosen Journey with Big Money Grip and Chosen Lawyer, Steve Karsay. How you doing, buddy? How's your week been? Are you excited for a big topic today?
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's been great. Hopefully you're doing well. It's nice to be back on and talking some baseball.
It's our favorite time of the day, and we got some big topics coming up over the next few weeks. And, doing the research, you think you're going to go in one angle, and then, you got the games on in the background and try to put multiple screens going. Today's topic, I've been talking in the off season about how excited I was about the Phillies and where I've seen the Phillies going this year. I stopped thinking about the Phillies since pretty much middle of April because there's a new team that's got me really excited, Steve Karsay. It's in the American League, and it's not the Rays. Any idea who I'm talking about?
If I had to guess, it would be the Baltimore Orioles.
You'd be close, but you would be incorrect on that one. One of the few times you are. It's a team actually dear to your heart because you did spend some time there. The Texas Rangers. So, been watching a lot of Rangers ball this year, and I gotta tell you, I'm absolutely blown away. As I was driving up to get everything set up for today, would you like me to start today with a rant or end with a rant?
Start with the rant. I like the rants.
All right, I'm going to start with a rant. Watching this team from top to bottom, I got to say, I don't see any holes. No matter what pitcher they put out there, it's freaking incredible. Game after game after game. And as you and I were talking, and I was doing the last little bit of research, it's funny because another layer got added to this thing. So let's start off, first of all, we always start with our top to bottom approach, right? Because any organization does well, we got to have a top set up, and then, it kind of trickles down. Chris Young, GM, well-educated guy. Princeton, I believe. Was it Princeton or Yale?
Correct. Yep. No, correct. Princeton.
Princeton guy. So he's not really a dummy. Like the guy knows his stuff, book smart, street smart. He's come in there, taking over from John Daniels was very highly considered. Uh, he did, I believe, worked for Major League Baseball, plus he worked for the Rangers. So came into this experience. What he has assembled here, I think he didn't just look at one section, he looked at the big picture part of it. So my thinking is, okay, Bruce Bochy is manager. Also not a dummy. Very rarely high considered into the game. No coincidence this man is there. So I'm thinking in my head, okay, so it's got to be Bochy, it's got to be him. But where I kept getting stuck was, Steve Karsay was, but it's Texas. And in Texas, you don't get pitching. It doesn't work that way. Yet time after time after time, I'm watching these guys come in, and all I'm thinking is, what am I watching? Am I watching the St. Louis Cardinals pitching staff, or am I watching the Texas Rangers pitching staff? I'm getting so excited here. And then I realized, wait a minute here. Of course, it seems like it's the St. Louis Cardinals pitching staff because Mike Maddux is back. I slept on that one. I didn't realize that Max was back in there as the pitching coach. So as I'm putting it together here and looking at Maddux, and I'm thinking in my head, when did Maddux get hired? Well, Maddux got hired this past offseason. Not only did they hire Mike Maddux, but Dayton Moore is back. I didn't realize he was in their front office as well. All he did was get Kansas City a World Series. Steve, before we even get into the roster, like what powerhouse they assembled in the front office and in the coaching staff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you just really break it down to the nuts and bolts of it, I look at it, and the first thing that pops out in my mind is experience, experience, baseball knowledge, uh, understanding what players go through in 162 games. Chris Young's done it. Bruce Bochy's won World Series. Dayton Moore, World Series, putting teams together with the Royals. So at the end of the day, you can have all the analytics that you want, but when you have baseball people putting together and constructing a roster along with the knowledge of the analytics, you balance the two, and ultimately you put together a top to bottom roster that you feel is very comfortable in competing, and it doesn't hurt that you have a little bit of money to spend.
But and I agree with you on everything you said there. Well put. And what separates this team from past Rangers teams is this pitching staff. Like, no matter who they trot out there, they just seem to shine. And it seems like Maddux has waved his magic wand. I'm sure they put together a staff that he's comfortable with, and clearly they are comfortable working with him. But Steve, I've watched enough of the games this year. And DeGrom's been injured for a lot of it, but when he's there, he pitches great. Andrew Haney, John Gray, Martin Perez, Nathan Eovaldi, Dane Dunning. I mean, DeGrom comes back. What are they going to do with Dane Dunning, for example? All the guys done has come and pitched like an ace. It's each of these guys has just been. I mean, they get their blips, obviously. I don't want to jump too much on a bandwagon here, but I've just been so impressed with what they're able to do, whether they're pitching home, away, who their opponents are. They're just pitching with a lot of confidence, it seems to be.
Yeah, it's nice to have depth, right? I mean, that's what every team looks for because you're going to have injuries and you're going to need guys to fill in. It's 162 games, it's a marathon. But the one key component, and they've probably been trying to do this for a very long time, but the one key component that I look at is you said that it's hard to get pitching in Texas. Well, when they move to the indoor facility and they have a roof, it doesn't wear you down like it used to in, the ballpark in Arlington where you're playing 81 games outside in the hot heat and humidity, and it's just really tough. I had the opportunity to play at that ballpark for a month and a half at the end of my career, and I can tell you the heat is scorching in July, August, and even into September. So if people don't think that playing indoors is an advantage and a roof is an advantage, they're very well mistaken because it's much easier to know when you go to a ballpark that it's going to be 78 degrees instead of 95 with 95% humidity. And day after day, where that can kind of just wear you down, it doesn't do that anymore. And now guys are flocking to Texas to play for that team because, like I said, they have some money to give away, which is always a nice thing, but they also have a very good, well-constructed roster that has a chance to win for a very long time.
Now, what do you do in a situation? Because this is going to come up over the next couple of weeks, to be honest with you. When you have somebody injured, somebody steps in, takes over that role, does very well in that role. When the person that was injured comes back, how do you remove that person who's been excelling? So in this case, Dane Dunning, for example, to speculate, let's assume nobody else gets injured. DeGrom is back. I don't think they're going to pull any of the guys out of the rotation. How do you tell a guy who's been lights out for most of his starts? By the way, you're going back to a swingman role. That must be a tough pill to swallow, I imagine.
Well, you don't know what's going to happen in 2 weeks. The game changes on a daily basis. There could be somebody injured. I mean, you're assuming there's not going to be, but yeah, then again, maybe they come up with a formula where they do a six-man rotation and give guys extra rest. And now you have six guys in the rotation. Guy gets an extra day in between starts and keeps them fresh for the run coming down because we all know that the Astros are going to be in it. They're a very good ball club, and it looks like it might be a two-man race in the AL West coming down the stretch. So at the end of the day, everything kind of falls into place the way that you want it to. There's options on the table, and it's never a bad thing to have more options than less options.
Agree with you 1,000% there. And I look at that rotation. You think about John Gray, Andrew Haney, Evaldi. Like these are guys you don't picture, pitching a full season healthy wise. And in my mind, a six-man rotation I think would be a great point, especially DeGrom, letting him as far as more rest. But uh, they're gonna work out some sort of formula. It's funny. I see that they're going that way, or they're gonna say, hey, you got this great swingman role. We know we can rely on you. Whereas pulling somebody, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but somebody who's used to being a starter versus somebody who's done the kind of swing back and forth, even if the guy who swings back and forth may be excelling more, if he's used to that role, you're more likely going to shuttle him back than try to pull somebody who's used to being a starter. True or false?
I would say in the long run, probably true. But those are decisions made by Bochy, Young, the front office, and what's best for the team at that particular point. Like it's a team thing. Like you sometimes you don't like the role that you're in, but ultimately you end up in the role that the team puts you in and gives you the best chance to help your team get to the ultimate goal, which is trying to win a World Series. And I think these guys coming into these situations. They understand that, yeah, it's always a tough pill to swallow. I've been there, done that. I get the understand what that's all about. But sometimes you just got to put your ego aside, put your emotions, and keep your emotions in check, and then move forward and continue to do what you do best and pitch well.
And next week we'll be talking about Eagles. I promise you that. But with the Rangers Day, it's more of a celebration. I didn't mean to put the Texas Star and wear the shirt. It looks like I'm wearing a Dallas Cowboys shirt. This is just what I happen to have on, but it actually fits. Maybe subconsciously I put it on this morning. Now, Will Smith, after the slap incident, has really rebounded well as the closer for the Rangers. But turns out this is not the actor Will Smith. It is the pitcher Will Smith. And it's again one of those things. You just find a guy. He was, I think considered most of his career a middle reliever at best, and he's excelled in the closer role and done well and ran with it. And they're riding the hot hand, and good on him. He's been great now for more than one season, and it's again, you look up and down in this lineup, except for a couple of blips, you got experience. You're talking about experience in the front office. They're putting experience in the starting rotation, experience in the bullpen, experience on the field. They like their guys that they all fit this kind of realm. They're not 40 plus something, but they're not 20-year-old rookies either. There is this magic formula. It seems like between 27 to 32, 33, they like these ages and they're fitting them, slotting them well together.
Yeah, I don't think it's the age so much, to be quite honest with you. I just think it's the talent and where they're at in their career when they become free agents and who they target in free agency moving forward to construct that roster. They put together, I mean, obviously the pitching's doing well, but they put a, offense heavy lineup out there that can score some runs. Up and down the lineup, there's really no holes. You have the catcher there, Heim, who's having a breakout year and has been doing a great job behind the plate. I mean, Semien and everybody knows Seager. You have those guys in the middle of your lineup. And then you have the key components with some of these other guys playing major roles. And it just works, when you can find that balance between pitching and hitting. And, it's a lot easier to pitch when you're up 5-0 than when you're down 5-0 and got to keep, runs off the board. You don't have to worry about every little mistake that you make as a pitcher out on a mound. If you give up a solo home run, now it's 5-1, and your offense is going to score some runs or some more runs. They've been winning by some big numbers lately. I have seen that, 16-6 and 12-3 and 12-8, and like when you have an offense that can put up runs, no matter what inning it is. It's a lot easier to relax and just go out there and pitch and not be so perfect.
And Duran, I think, is funny. One guy you didn't mention, but he kind of lingers in the back of my mind always because he's the glue, because he can jump around your lineup, he can jump around the batting lineup and on the field. And when you have that kind of versatility, everybody needs that super utility guy, and he's the guy for them. It's an embarrassment of riches. You touch upon most of those guys there that I had on my list. Starting off with Jonah Heim. If you look at the guy, you've never seen him play before. He looks like a major league star. He just has that look about him. He has that swagger about him. Switch hitter, catcher. What he's doing with the bat, wow! Like obviously, their scouting department saw something that Oakland, and I think I'm trying to remember what other team he was on before, because I think he played in a couple organizations at least. But they clearly, I don't think they expected this necessarily, but he has broken out in a great way and just solidified this lineup. It's scary to watch this team because I don't see any holes. Like your number 8, number 9 guys can crush you. Nathaniel Lowe, the first baseman, typical, Chris Davis type monster first baseman, continuing that trend. Semien, I mean, having watched him Toronto, had a great season when he was here. When he signed that contract, Steve Karsay, I don't know if I was that excited about it. All he's done is basically been one of the top players, if not the top player this year in baseball. And his game all around, everything he's doing, they got to be ecstatic about what they're getting out of Semien this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's can play defense, can put up offensive numbers, and when you have a lineup from top to bottom, those guys who, not that you're checking off, but the Heims, they're going to get better pitches to hit because they know that they got to try to get these guys out, so they don't roll the lineup over and get to the big boys who are in the middle, who are going to do the most damage and who are the most notable names in their lineup. So, these other guys who are hitting 7, 8, 9, they're the beneficiaries of getting better pitches because that's where they feel like they got to get their outs. And when, you got guys getting pitches that they're able to handle, and they're good ball players. They're going to put good swings on it, and they're going to end up years like they're having this year.
Another guy I slept on and forgot all about him once upon a time, but a top prospect, third baseman Josh Jung. And what has he done in May? Unfreaking believable. He's been one of the top third basemen. And not a coincidence, but Mr. Seager, as soon as he comes back into the lineup, he doesn't miss a beat. And he's come back. And it's funny, you don't want to kind of mess with the chemistry, but he comes in, all of a sudden, he's even more of a powerhouse, and everybody around him has become even better. So it just goes to show like how much of a presence Seager is. I kind of see the same thing when DeGrom comes back. If DeGrom pitches like DeGrom, all these guys that have been stars, I think they're only going to elevate their games. It's funny how stars attract stars, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a snowball effect, right? Like we talked about, guys raise their play when guys around them are playing well, and that's just a product of your environment, and that's what they do. And you've seen what the Rangers have been able to accomplish through the first 2 months of the season, and like we talked about, you find out who a team really is through the first 40 games of a season.
So we made a deal. We passed the quarter mark a while ago. And when we're looking right now, I think we can safely say when we're going to come into September, the Rays aren't probably not going away. The Rangers are not going away. The Astros aren't going away. The Orioles look like they're still going to stay in it. The Yankees, Jays. It's funny. You're seeing kind of this cluster. But if right now, the season ended right now, the Rangers and Rays, I can't see how they're not going to meet. Leading up to the World Series, it's just they've been that strong. But like you said on many episodes, you never know with injuries, slumps. How many times have we seen these monster 8 game leads, 10 game leads going into August, September? Things happen. It's a funny game of baseball.
Yeah, I mean a little bit of pressure, and you're leading the division, and a team gets hot, and whoever's the hottest coming down the stretch usually has a pretty good postseason. They continue to excel, and the teams that play early and often in the postseason seem to gel and get that with not too many days off. So it's going to be a fun ride coming down the next couple months. I mean, the Diamondbacks aren't going away. They got a really good ball club. I think as many people, the Pirates are a real deal. I think as long as their pitching holds up, they may have a shot to at least contend for a while. The Brewers are beat up with all of their injuries. The Cardinals have put together a good run for a little bit, and then they've kind of fallen back. But I expect the Cardinals to be right in it. So that division in the NL Central is going to be a race till the finish, and then the National League in general, I think, is just going to be top to bottom, especially with the wild card race. Uh, to see who gets in at the very end. I think it's going to come down to the last day of the season for many of these clubs to get into the postseason in the National League.
Even the Marlins. I was listening to talk radio as I was driving over here, and they're talking about. By the way, the Mets Marlins have almost the same record, and guess what? It's 250 million less payroll. When they call up Perez, I can't pronounce his first name, Uriz Perez, but
Hmm.
their hot pitching prospect. Been watching him. Wow, like this is just. It seems like the Marlins. I don't know, since their inception, they know how to draft, they know how to groom. They got these pitchers, and he just walks out there, Steve. What is he, 20, 21 years old? And it's
Hmm.
like he's been doing this for 15 years. I love that, to see that natural born pitcher, so to say. And you taught me a little bit of what to look for, and I like that effortless delivery. It looks like it's not very taxing on his arm. The Marlins are at it again. You know what? And they're not going away so quickly either.
Yeah, they're in a tough division though, right? I mean, you got the Braves and the Mets, and the Phillies can still play even though they're not playing all that well. It's going to be a challenge for that team. They got to stay healthy, all the way through. Alan Contra needs to pick it up a little bit. He hasn't been his normal self like he was in his Cy Young year. So they got all the pieces. It's just a matter of can you put it together for 162 as opposed to just 80 or 90 games.
I don't know if you caught it the other day, but Schwarber had 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. I don't know, Steve. It looks like the bat is a toothpick is in his hands, and just all he does is mash. I when I watch him and when he hits a home run, I think, how did not every team want to sign this man? Like, just the heart he plays with. He was a natural born Philly. I love him in that role in that clubhouse with that team. And when they score a bunch of runs, they're a lot of fun to watch. So we're gonna have a dog days of summer coming up soon, folks. We're almost there, and it's gonna be a lot of fun to see these races, as Steve Karsay said. So stay tuned on that, and we'll come back next week because next week we got to talk about some egos and some things brewing in the Big Apple. So stay tuned. Steve Karsay, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for sharing your love and insights of the game with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again, as usual. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good.